Before I became a full-time photographer, I spent 20 years working as a chartered financial planner, and one of the many lessons I learned from that experience was that taking some time towards the end of each year to review what you've been up to, check on your progress and set goals for the year ahead is an incredibly healthy behaviour. So it's something I'm keen to carry across to my work now as a professional photographer. So as we approach the end of 2024, I've taken a look back through all of my client galleries, all of my photo galleries, and I've managed to pull out my 12 favourite images from the past year. I tried to narrow it down to 10 but couldn't quite get there, and I'd like to share these with you. Each one comes with a little bit of a story that I think is worth telling, just to really chart my progress as a photographer, and it's something I encourage you to do as well. Hi, I'm Martin Bamford and this is Bear's Eye View. I'm a freelance photographer specialising in portraits, events and branding photography, and as I mentioned at the top, I used to spend a lot of my time in the world of retail financial services as a chartered financial planner, and that was all about reviewing things and planning things, and it's a habit I've carried through into my time as a photographer. So without further ado, I'm going to run through 12 of my favourite images from 2024, and at the end of the video also share with you my goals for the year ahead and what I'm working on, and encourage you to do the same thing, this review and planning cycle. Now, the images I'm about to share are not in any particular order from when they were taken during the year. They're just ones that popped up as I was reviewing my client galleries and either brought a smile to my face or told a bit of a story about the progress I've made as a photographer this year. So the first one I'm sharing is actually taken earlier this month during a styled shoot and workshop on 60s fashion with Carla Monaco, who's the model, and the tutor Adrian Crook. It was taken over at the Neon Dreams studio in Hampshire, and I'm really pleased with how all of the images from this particular day turned out. As a photographer, something I'm passionate about is continuous improvement. And obviously I shoot with lots of clients, but I also take the opportunity and create the opportunity to shoot in a more controlled environment where there's fewer stakes at play. So these test shoots, these styled shoots are really good for professional development because I'm not having to worry about client delivery, nailing that perfect shot. I can experiment with different lighting, different looks, different ideas, and also learn an awful lot from, in this case, Adrian, the tutor, from the model who's got lots of experience with different poses and things, and from the other photographers taking part in the workshop. So it's something I'm keen to do a lot more of in 2025, attend these style shoots and workshops, run my own test shoots with people as well, without that pressure of client delivery. Now, one of the challenges when you do styled shoots and workshops like this is getting images which are distinct from the other photographers present, because the lighting's the same, the model's the same, the look's the same, the fashion's the same. So in this particular instance, and the reason I've highlighted this photo from the set, Carla picks up a slinky to play with within the shoot we were doing, and I asked if I could just hold one end of that slinky to create this sort of perspective shooting through the slinky, through the toy, and I think it's a unique image from the day. It's one that other photographers there didn't get, and I'm just really pleased with the colours, the composition, the lighting, every element of it. So that's my favourite shoot from the day. The other reason I'm really keen to share this particular photo is 2024 I made the decision to shut down my small photography studio and work from other studios, I've got a small office space here where I'm filming at the moment for headshots and things, but hire studio spaces, hire other spaces where I can take my photos of people and work with clients. So visiting other studios like Neon Dreams in Hampshire is part of my journey, it's part of my development for 2025 as well. I will be hiring lots of different spaces, and I think this ability as photographers to walk into a different shooting environment and very quickly understand the space, understand the lighting setups and things is a very useful tool to have, because unless you're within your own studio all the time, when things can get a little bit stagnant, a bit stale, it's really important we're able to be flexible and adapt to different shooting spaces. The second image then, this is one of Paul Sinton Hewitt CBE, who is founder of the parkrun movement. Now, outside of photography, one of my volunteer hats is as event director of Cranley Parkrun. I've been doing that now for about 10 years and recently completed my 250th volunteer session, got my V250 milestone. Now, Paul was visiting Cranley Parkrun. He comes down on a fairly regular basis, he lives locally, and he was visiting to do some filming with the National Lottery because he'd been awarded the National Lottery Game Changer Award. And I helped to facilitate the filming at Cranley Parkrun that morning, and in return asked if I could just shoot a few behind the scenes shots of Paul being interviewed on camera. And I love this photo. I love everything that Paul has achieved with parkrun and the parkrun movement as a whole, not just at Cranley where we do it, but nationally in the different parkruns you go to. And it was lovely to just be part of that moment, see the filming taking place, see the end video afterwards, but capture some frames of this momentous occasion where Paul was awarded the Game Changer Award. Number 3, this is my friend Matt Wyman. Matt is an author. He spent 18 months embedded with the Mercedes Formula One team for his latest publication, Inside Mercedes Formula One, and he needed a new author headshot for the book Jacket. And I was very happy to do that. Matt's a complete natural in front of the camera. He's got a great look, and it didn't take us very long at all of sort of chatting about what he'd been up to, getting a few different positions and poses in place to capture this image, which was selected for the book actually in black and white. And there's a really special feeling about seeing any of your photographs published, particularly within a book. And this book in particular became a Sunday Times bestseller within about a week or two of publication. So well done, Matt, and thank you for the signed copy as well, which I keep on my shelf. Really lovely feeling to be part of such an amazing project and such a successful publication. Image number 4 then from my highlights of 2024. This one I took at the Loxwood Joust, which is a fantastic event locally here. And I think this one, for me, is really important because it marked a bit of a milestone in my development as a photographer. The Loxwood Joust is a massively popular event, jousting, medieval food, music, etc. Very busy. Always lots of photographers wandering around taking some great shots. It's a bit of a target-rich environment for photographers. But this was the first time that they have commissioned a professional photographer to capture images from the event to update their social media and website. And I felt very honoured to be the person they approached to take on that role. So I spent 3 consecutive Saturdays at the Loxwood Joust with my camera, with a fairly extensive shot list of must-haves to capture, and just really immersing myself in the experience. I picked this image in particular. It's quite a tricky one to pull off because there's a lot of people in it. The flares that you see in the photo there, they only burn for a few seconds before they burn out, but actually before that happens, the smoke just obscures the shot completely. So it was a lovely shot. It captured, I think, the energy and the excitement of the event, and I've loved seeing since lots of my images going up on their social media channels. Looking forward to seeing their new website launch as well in the new year. Image number 5, this is the actor Alex McQueen presenting an award at the Surrey Law Society Legal Services Awards at G Live in Guildford earlier this year. I like this one for a number of reasons. Alex played Neil's dad in The In-Betweeners, a sitcom I absolutely used to love, still find hilarious. But more importantly, he played the politician Julius Nicholson in The Thick of It, and Alex is my second Thick of It actor that I photographed. I also photographed Chris Addison a couple of years ago at a different event. Brilliant event, slightly challenging this one from a photography point of view because the whole room was in a very, very bright blue wash. So trying to get people looking like they weren't made of ice afterwards and balancing all those colours, the colour temperature was a bit of a challenge. And I also experienced my first ever on-stage camera failure, and that is as terrifying as you think it would be. So awards being presented on the evening, lots of people on stage being brought up to collect their trophies and shake hands with the host, etc. And my mirror on one of my cameras completely locked up. And actually that was the trigger point for me. Luckily I had my backup camera. Professional photographers shoot with 2 cameras at all times in case that happens. But it was the motivation for me to then switch from my old DSLRs, move into the mirrorless world. So shortly after that I traded in all my old DSLRs and lenses, etc., and purchased brand new mirrorless cameras and lenses, and I'm much happier now, much more reliable system. But it was a really good reminder that 1 is none and 2 is 1, so always have that redundancy built in if you're shooting events, particularly high pressure events when that moment just lasts for a fleeting second or two and you're standing on stage in front of hundreds of people taking those photos. If something goes wrong, you've just got to seamlessly switch to your second body and keep shooting. Image number 6, this was a promotional image for Hot Yoga Tribe to promote some events that they were doing in the amphitheatre in the park, which I'm part of. And it was the first time I've attempted a composite image like this, and I love the idea of this one. It was very, very tricky to pull off in practice. This is 4 people that then become 21 people in the final photo. Very tricky balancing the exposure. Focus is not a problem because you lock it off off at the start, but getting the exposure right, getting the sort of compositions and getting the alignment working. I lent heavily for this one on the merge tool within within Lightroom to get it done, and I'm not entirely, it's not perfect. 4 should have been 24, I think, in total, but it became 21 individuals that worked within that image, and I like it. It's different, it catches the attention a bit. I think one of the challenges that we face as photographers is to get a different shot from everyone else, because there's so many people now wandering around with cameras that you can very easily slip into this world of just getting the same old that everyone else gets. So planning shoots like this, coming up with ideas which are dramatically different from what anyone else can capture with a simple sort of point and shoot, I think is more and more important. So 2025, I will be putting much more effort into planning shoots, coming up with big ideas, big concepts like this, and hopefully executing them well. But practice makes perfect, and I'm really pleased with the outcome of this particular shot. Image number 7 then, this is from the Cranley bonfire, big village event, a big tradition in the village where I live in Cranley. And the reason I picked this one is I'd just gone through that process I mentioned of traded in my DSLRs for mirrorless cameras, and I think the first of my 2 mirrorless cameras had arrived at this point, so a Nikon Z5, which is my backup camera, along with a Nikon 50mm 1.4 lens, and I wanted to get out there straight away and just see what it was like in low light. And there's not much lower light than a bonfire, so pitch black out there. I spoke to the organisers, the Cranley Lions, and asked if I could come along and shoot some photos from sort of within the event itself. So I walked in front of the procession, a few thousand people coming up the high street with flaming torches, and I was seriously impressed with the low light capability of this camera. It's a number of things really. It's the low f number, the 1.4 on the lens. It's the in-body image stabilization. I think it's 5-axis in-body image stabilization on that particular camera. And it's the lack of noise at even a relatively high ISO. So this shot for me, I've included it within my portfolio for 2024 because it was a great affirmation that I'd made the right decision to switch from DSLR to mirrorless. In those sort of low light, more challenging photographic environments where you really want to nail the shot, you want to get it in focus, you don't want it to be all grainy and noisy, you want it to be sharp, and it does the job. So I really like this one. Image number 8 then, this was a request from a local charity, the Royal Surrey Cancer Charity, to come and shoot their Stride for Cancer sponsored walk event. And I love shooting any events, but particularly when there's a charitable aspect to them. So it was a long day shooting there at Surrey Sports Park, getting the finish line moments as the hundreds of runners cross the finish line, and I like this one in particular. It's just the emotion of it and just capturing that moment in particular, and yeah, that's really not much more to say about that one. It's got the branding colours in there for the charity. It was a fantastic day overall. I think they raised over £75,000 for the cancer charity that day, so hard work, a long day, but met some fantastic people, and yeah, looking forward to shooting more charity events in 2025. Image number 9, this is a client of mine, Anthony Thompson. Anthony does a number of things, but one of them is as a Vedic meditation instructor, and he wanted some formal headshots, portraits within the studio, which we did first, and then a week or 2 later we met up at one of my favourite locations, which is Winterfold Forest up in the Surrey Hills, because he wanted some environmental portraiture done. And really pleased with this one. My sort of look and feel goal for the day with the portraits with Anthony, outside at least, were to go for this sort of Sunday Times-esque feel, so the sort of things you'd see in the Sunday Times magazine. So a mix of natural lighting, artificial lighting, yeah, lovely composition on this one as well. I particularly enjoyed, I think on this one in particular, I was lying on my back on the floor, Anthony was stood up on a bench and just trying to frame it properly with that tree and sky behind it. A pleasure working with Anthony as well, because he gave me creative control. He knew what he wanted, he had a very clear idea of what he wanted, but he also recognised that when you hire a photographer, you hire them for their published style, for their creative input. So really let me get on with the different ideas I had from the day, and it was, as it should be, a collaborative effort to get the shots that he wanted and with my style. So really pleased with how this whole portfolio turned out, but this shot in particular I really liked from the shoot. And then number 10, this is Claire Beasley. Claire's a childhood friend of my sister. She's starting a new business, new enterprise as a sound bath practitioner, and again wanted some branding shots. So back up to Winterfold Forest, a very natural environment, place where I know lots of spots where are good for photos, good for backgrounds, and And before this shoot, Claire and I had shared lots of ideas on Pinterest boards, which is something I love to do. And we had a few in particular, one I've not shared here, of holding a piece of bracken or fern and trying to get the sunlight and shadows on her arm, which took us a little while to nail exactly as it was on Pinterest. We got there in the end. But yeah, joy to work with Claire, lots of ideas on the Pinterest boards, and really, really pleased with how the whole gallery for her showed out. So yeah, another fantastic shoot from 2024. And then image number 11, this is a press shoot for a production of Wind in the Willows, and it was a community theatre production. We were sort of midway, I think, through their rehearsal schedule at this point, so the characters were quite well formed, they all got to know each other very well, and lots of photos from that day of characters in costume at different parts in the park where they were going to perform this play at the end of the summer. But I like this one in particular because it captures the whole cast, and then in the boat we've got the director and the assistant producer, you know, in the boat together with the cast looking down on them. And we took it in turns throughout the day for different cast members to paddle out in the boat a little bit, have some photos taken. Photo shoots should be fun, and you know, all of my photo shoots are fun. What's the point in doing it otherwise? But this was fun, you know, splashing about in a little rowing boat that we were sort of 50-50 whether it was seaworthy or not, whether they'd sink at some point. But it works, yeah, no one got wet, no one fell in, and we got some lovely images from the day, not just on the lake, but also within a hollow tree and walking down the path and things. So yeah, really enjoyed sort of press shoots like this. Creates great materials for publicity, which then helps to drive ticket sales. So yeah, really worthwhile thing to do. And last but not least, this is number 12. This is one of my shots photographing the Cranley FC women's team this season, as well as being a team photographer and one of the sponsors of the team. And I think I managed to capture 8 matches in 2024, so that's last season plus this season, as well as their awards day and one of their training sessions, 2 of their training sessions. Lots of images, great images from photographing the team this year, but I like this one in particular because it just captures that action, that moment. Yeah, the composition's not perfect, so I'm chopping bits off I probably shouldn't do, but when you're shooting with a long lens, you're shooting sport, then the action moves right up next to you and there's not time to move to your second body and wider lens. You do what you can with it. But I like this one. It's Jenny, I think, mid-air, being, you know, putting a tackle in or putting the offence in there. But yeah, it just captures the energy and the emotion. It's the reason I really do enjoy sports photography. So I hope you enjoyed my 12 favourite photos from 2024. I'd encourage you to do the same. Look back through the photos you've taken this year, pick out your favourites and think about the reasons why they are your favourite photos. What is it that makes them special? What story do they tell? You know, what is the moment in particular you like from those photos? And at the same time, think about next year. And it's a bit of a cliche, isn't it, to start setting New Year's resolutions at this time of year and use the 1st of January as a kicking off point. But it's a healthy thing as long as you follow through on them and you have real motivation behind what you're doing. So what do you want to achieve from your photography in 2025? Leave a comment down below, let me know what you're hoping to get out of next year as a photographer. I'd love to get some ideas from you and sort of share ideas amongst this photography community. I've been given a lot of thought to my photography in 2025, and I'm approaching it on the back of 2024, which was my best year to date since becoming a professional photographer, both in terms of, you know, client engagement numbers, revenue, the quality and quantity of the shoots I've been doing. And I want to carry that over, but what I'm also very keen to do is to find a way to make my photography services slightly more accessible to some of the creatives and solopreneurs that want high quality photography but can't afford commercial photography fees. And I get loads of inquiries, I speak to loads of people who want to work with me but can't quite afford my pricing point, which is fine. You know, we have to determine what we can charge and what we need to charge to be successful in business, and not everyone can afford to meet that point. But what I've decided to do in 2025 is continue with my commercial photography work with portraits, the events, the branding, and then work with a select number of creative people and entrepreneurs to shoot some behind the scenes video content for this YouTube channel. So effectively the price that people will pay for my photography will be access to video footage of behind the scenes, behind the shoot. So I'm hoping in 2025 to share with you my approach to photography from the other side of the lens. So you don't just see the finished image, you'll see how I approach the preparation, the lighting, the environment, everything I do to get that final image. So that's my goal, is to go back into YouTube. During the pandemic, I was a YouTuber, but it was all about personal finance. So this is a fresh channel, this is a brand new platform I'm going to work on, and this is going to be a photography channel. So if you're a fan of photography, and particularly photography of people, because that's what I do in the main, please do hit subscribe. leave a like for this video and leave a comment to share any ideas, things you'd like to see me tackle from a photography perspective in 2025. But thank you for watching this video. I hope you found that interesting and useful. I hope you enjoyed the photos I shared. Do share a comment below about what your plans are, what your highlights were from 2024, but also what your plans are for the year ahead. And I look forward to seeing you in the next episode of A Bear's Eye View.